بسم الله إن الحمد لله رب العالمين والذي جعلنا مسلمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ما بعد والسلام عليكم. Oh, mashallah. I guess I want to do some, I used to be in business. I love to do inventory, you know. So let me do some inventory right now. Do we have with us tonight anybody that's not Muslim? Please raise your hand. Any non-Muslim with us tonight? Don't worry, they're not going to put a mark on you. Okay. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Do we have any Muslims with us tonight? Please raise your hands. How you guys like being surrounded by all these terrorists? I mean Muslims, sorry. Alhamdulillah, it's great to be here in Australia with my brothers and sisters in faith and my brothers and sisters in humanity. It's really an honor, it's a privilege. And I like the format of this kind of a program. I'm from Texas. I'm one of what they call a redneck good old boy. Yup. And you know, I'm from bush country. I'm gonna tell you something. I've been talking in front of people all my life, and I always like to use presidents as a chance to, you know, get people laughing. Talk about President Eisenhower. We used to say, I like Ike, he's all right, boo for Stevenson, he stinks all night, things like that. Then we had, you know, Kennedy, and they made fun of Kennedy a lot before he was assassinated. Then they made fun of Johnson. Johnson's from Texas, you know. And then we had, one by one, you know, we always had a good laugh out of every president we had. And then they got Reagan in there, and I said, man, now there's a man that nobody can argue with. They said, why? I said, well, he acts more like a president than any other president. He's a good actor. We had Carter. And then we had, of course, we had Bush. And then we got Clinton. It was good for a lot of jokes. Some of them you can't tell. But this guy that we got now, you don't have to say anything except his name and everybody laughs. Bush. I love it. I tell him, you know, Texas contributed a lot to the United States because we did give a lot of presidents. As I already mentioned, Johnson and Bush 1, and then we sent him a son of a Bush. What? I don't get it. I don't dare laugh. I won't be able to get back in the country. Anyhow, David, I have some good news, by the way. Yeah, always before, you know, when I go through the security checks and one thing and another to go through the airplane, somehow I always get randomly selected for a special screening. They told me at American Airlines when I got my ticket this time that I no longer am going to be randomly selected. It's permanent. Every time I go, they're going to do it. But anyhow, our subject tonight, we're talking about what is called in the Arabiya, ash-shaytan, a'udhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the story of the shaitan very clearly in his last and his final revelation. When he explains to us the nature of shaitan, the substance of shaitan, and then his position to us, his relationship with us. And then he tells us how to deal with it, what to do, what not to do, and then what will be the results, reward and punishment for those who deal with this subject correctly. First and foremost, I want to mention a few things. What I'm going to be saying is from the Quran, so it'll be Arabiya, and then I'll try my best to give some English translation to it. This is very important. This is now nasiha, or advice for my brothers and sisters in Islam. It's important to use the Arabic from the Quran and then give the meaning. The reason for that is because it shows the authenticity of what you are saying. There is no other religion on earth that still has its original text in the original condition and memorized by every single member of the congregation. We have more than 10 million human beings today who have memorized this book in the Arabic language in its entirety, cover to cover. And 85% of those are not Arabs. And every single of the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world today carries at least a certain portion of the Quran with them all the time in their hearts and in their minds. There's no Muslim except they know Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, etc. Am I right or wrong? 1.5 billion people, and they know the original text. They know how it is, and there isn't anything to have an opinion about. We know what it is. Alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qala fil Quran al-Kareem, our God, our Lord, has told us in His book, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and even before we read this book, we seek refuge with Allah from the condemned shaitan. Huwa alladhi, He is the one, khalaqa samawati wal ard, who created the heavens and the earth, fi sitta ayum, in 6 periods of time, or yawm, days. Thumma astawa al arsh, and then He rose above His throne. He tells us also in His book, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that He only created the jinn and the human beings for one purpose. The purpose to worship Him alone without any partners. The ibadah for Allah alone. I don't really have to say a whole lot tonight because Dr. David Milliken actually covered a lot of ground for me. He basically painted a picture that all I'd like to do is come in and finish off a little things here or there, clean up a little part there, over here. Some of the things he said are right on target, especially when he talked about his own religion, which is Christianity. And what he said when he talked about thinking that maybe Jesus felt like this when Shaitan was talking to him, or maybe he was thinking that, and so, I remember those things real well. We all had our own opinions. Every preacher I knew had something to say about the verses of the Bible. I've even been in churches where I've asked the pastor to describe to me what their particular aqidah is, or their creed. And they would say to me, we believe this, we believe this, we believe this, the church believes that. And I said, wait a minute, hold that. What do you mean the church believes? He said, I don't believe that. I said, well, it's your church, you have to believe it. They said, no, we're free to believe what we like. That's true in some denominations. With Islam, it isn't permissible for us to have any opinion whatsoever about the Quran other than what Allah and His Messenger said. Those are from the verses of the Quran itself. So it makes it easy for my job because I don't have to sit and philosophize. I can just go and say, well, this is what it says. Alhamdulillah. Next, when Dr. David Milliken did speak about the belief about shaitan in Islam, he was really, really close. He was very much on target, as much as some Muslims I've known, but needs to be clarified a little bit. Not saying I'm correcting anybody, but just what we call clarification. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran about other creations beside us. He tells us that He created the malaika, the angels, first. And these malaika or angels are created from pure light, which explains why you can't see them. Nobody sees light. You can only see what light reflects off of. He tells us that he created the jinn, and the jinn were before us. The jinn were not angels, but rather they were made from a smokeless fire. The difference between the jinn and the angels, though, isn't really their substance, but is something called free choice. I'm not going to use the word free will, because in Islam we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, Allahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. There's no might, there's no power except the power of Allah. And Allah is able to do whatever He wills, but we don't have that ability. We can't will anything. If I could, I'd will for a new BMW or a Hummer in the parking lot with a full tank of gas. I did pray for rain when I got here, and that worked. And then yesterday I prayed for it to stop, and that worked. And then I was really kicking myself. Why didn't I say Hummer or BMW? Could have stuck that in there. Next time, inshallah. But the nature of the jinn was that they could make choices. Allah gave them opportunities and then let them make their own choices. The nature of the human being is similar. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَّدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. This is Surah At-Tin. That when He created the human being, He created him in the best form, the best mold, the best of the creation. Thumma, and then He reduced them to the lowest of the low. But who did it really? We did it to ourselves. Did we? Yeah. Allah tells us also in the Quran that there was one, Iblis, from the jinn. By the way, he used to worship Allah. You know that. He used to worship Allah exactly when the sun comes up. When it's first a little ball out there on the horizon. When it's straight overhead, and when the sun is sinking down, just when it makes a ball on the other side. Those 3 times. And that's the 3 forbidden times for us, isn't it? Yeah. But when Allah created the best of His creation, human beings, Adam, He commanded all of creation, bow down, for I have created the best of my creation. And all creation obeyed Allah and bowed down, illa Iblis, except for Iblis. Because of what? What was the word that Allah used in Quran? Because of his what? His what? Kibr. His kibr. And what is the problem with kibr? Kibr from the root kabara. There's another word that comes from this same root, akbar. And who is akbar? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So whenever a person stands up and says, well, I want some of that for me. It doesn't work. Allah does not accept any partners, no associates. There are no gods beside God. He made Iblis aware of the fact that by disobeying him, that he would be one of the denizens of the hellfire for eternity. What did Iblis say to that? In the Quran, what did he say? What was his response? Do you remember? He said, I don't care. Just let me take him, Adam, and his offspring with me to hell. Did he do that? Was that his idea? And Allah told us in the Quran. I'm in Surah Baqarah right now, chapter 2, verse 208. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. O you who believe, enter into Islam perfectly. Do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan. Verily, he is to you a plain and open enemy. What were the footsteps of the shaitan? Part of his footsteps was he worshipped Allah. Part of his footsteps were that he was elevated up really high, actually, to the level of angels, although not an angel himself, right? But the footsteps that we're talking about here is when somebody starts getting so proud. Look at me. Do you know who I am? And this is kibr. Riya leads to kibr. Kibr leads to shirk. And shirk leads to the hellfire. And may Allah save us from that. So this is really a good lesson for all of us to be aware of. Of course we know drinking alcohol, taking drugs, illegal sex, killing people, all of these things are horrible. Everybody knows this is wrong. But a lot of times we overlook the fact that we were also commanded not to have this kind of false pride. And when I say we, I'm talking about all. Because this stands for the Jews in the Old Testament, the Christians in the New Testament, and the Muslims in the Last Testament. The same exact teaching. Get down off your high horse and walk along with the rest of the people. That's an expression we got down where I come from. And Allah tells us in the Quran, or do they think they'll enter into Jannah, paradise, without the fitna, the trials as came to those who passed away before you? They were afflicted with severe poverty and ailments, and were so shaken that even the messenger and those who believed along with him said, when will come the help of Allah? Yes, certainly the help of Allah is near. In chapter 29, the very beginning, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, Ahasab an-Nas. Do the human beings think they're going to be left alone on saying we believe and they won't be tested? And for sure Allah is going to test them just as he tested those before. To do what? And he said it. To show the truthful of those that are true and the liars in their falsehood. So what is shaitan to us? He is a test. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that every one of us, when we're born, there's a qareen, which means an intimate, a close one, attached to you like your jugular vein. That shaitan is a part of your test. That's why when we go through life, there's always somebody there trying to mess up the good things that we're trying to do, isn't it? Somebody always telling you, like even you did a good deed, you want to give some charity, and somebody saying, you know, you should show that off a little bit. Let people know what you're doing, right? Any good deed, mess it up for you. And certainly help you with all the bad deeds. Who is this devil? Is he real? Or is it a figment of your imagination? Or is it just something in philosophy? According to the Quran, he's very real. Substance is real, you just don't see it. He lived before us, he's still alive today. That's an amazing subject right there, isn't it? That's amazing. Sometimes I hear Muslims tell me if I just had more knowledge, you know, more knowledge. How many times have you heard that? If we just had more knowledge. I'd like to encourage all of us to have more knowledge, because definitely this is something important in Islam, but at the same time, do you think just knowledge by itself is going to save you? Is that going to be your salvation? Because wouldn't you think that the devil has got some knowledge by now? I mean, after all, he was a witness to the creation of Adam himself, true or false? And he knows. I mean, he's been around. He's tried to mess up every single prophet. You heard Dr. David Milliken talking about Jesus being tempted by the devil. Right? Even the devil tried to bother Muhammad, and then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his Qareen submit. But even then the shaitan kept trying to bother him, didn't he? Try to bother all the Muslims. What I said was to just kind of touch up the painting a little bit, put a few things in there, because David did a really nice job. The best job that he did was to come out here and be with us tonight. For you Muslims, you may not realize what that took. You know how you're shy to go somewhere, maybe to another part of the city where there are no Muslims over there, or you'd definitely be shy to go into a church or something like that. And actually, in some cases, we're not supposed to go in other people's places of worship. Still all the same, how do you think it would feel to come over here and be with us tonight and actually speak and bring what he feels he needs to say? I think he did a good job. I really did. It's really easy for me because when I'm with the Christians, they know I used to be one. I speak the plain old English. When I'm with Muslims, you know, we all get along. I don't really have that fear of speaking like that. And having studied both scriptures to some extent, I don't claim to be the expert on anything. What I came to realize is something amazing. That when I studied the Bible and the Quran side by side, an amazing thing occurred to me. The Quran says there are no contradictions anywhere in it. And if you're in doubt about it, bring a book like it. Now, I know the Bible came from God, but ever since I was a little guy, I've heard my dad and other scholars discuss the Bible and contradictions in the text. But they always said these are contradictions in later manuscripts, contradictions in translations, interpolations of various authors who came along later. Nobody ever said God didn't know what he was doing or revealed a messed up book or anything like that. That's not the point. But they all admitted that what we have is not the original, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it. What I found here with the Quran side by side with the Bible is an amazing thing. I could clarify the verses of the Bible that I didn't understand before. In fact, I found that the Bible doesn't contradict the Quran except where it contradicts itself. So I don't have any need for trying to debate with anybody about the Bible. Got the Quran. And for those who are in doubt, they're welcome to take a free Quran. They can get it from our website, download it to their computer, and read it for themselves. Or if they send us a letter, we'll send them a free Quran. I want people to know what the message of Islam really is. By the way, my speech ended about 10 minutes ago. I'm just wasting your time. In closing, I would just like to give a meaning to some of the words that you and I use every day, but I'm afraid that some of our Christian friends, non-Muslim friends, might not really understand the depth of. The first and foremost is a word called Allah. Why do Muslims say Allah? Why don't they say God like normal people? Well, I got news for those who think that all the Christians say God. It's not true. In fact, many Christians say the word Dios because there are so many Spanish-speaking Christians in the world. Many of the Christians are Catholics. South America, Central America, and Mexico, for example, they speak Spanish or Portuguese. If you go to Portugal, of course, Spain, Italy, France, what are they speaking? What are their languages? Do they say God? No. Go to Europe, go to Germany, go to Czechoslovakia, go to some of the other countries. Christians there also don't say God. They have different words for God. Is that true? But every single Muslim on earth uses the word Allah. Do you know that? Every single Muslim on earth, 1.5 billion, all agree that's what we call Allah. And, by the way, all of the Arab Christians also use the word Allah. And the Arab Jews as well. The word Allah is in the Arabic Old Testament, page 1, 17 times. And the word Allah is in the New Testament, in that verse that they love to quote so much, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. That one says Allah in it. Alif Lam Lam Ha. So for the benefit of those who think that there's something wrong with using Allah, it was used before there was the word God. The word God didn't exist even 1,000 years ago, because there was no English until the Normans invaded the Saxons in 1066 AD. What did they call him before that? The word Allah means, let's find out the meaning. It comes from the root ilah. Ilah means anything which is worshipped. A rock, a stick, a stone, a bone can be worshipped, right? And you can say Al-Ilah, which means the God, still doesn't bring it to the level of the God as in Allah. In English, you have to see it written down because it's the same word. You have to see the big G or the little g, or you didn't know. For the plural in Arabic, gods, Aliha, and this is the plural. English, just puts after anything in English, you got the plural. Gods, right? But when you say Allah, it cannot be made plural, and it cannot have gender. Even though it says he, huwa, in the Arabic, and even though it says we, in the Arabic, nahnu, it's only out of respect and out of royalty, never out of plural and never out of gender. God is not a man, God is not a woman, and he doesn't compare to his creation. Laysa kamithlihi shay'in wa huwa samiun basir. That he is not like any of his creation, yet he is all-knowing, all-hearing, and all-seeing. Is that right? And he said, Lam yalid, wa lam yulad, wa lam yakuluhu kufuwan ahad. He's not the son of anything. He's not the father of anything. He doesn't compare to anything. There's nothing compares to him, and he's ahad, one, unique, not like anything else. Is that right? Amazing, huh? What's really amazing is that I found a similar verse in the Old Testament in the book called Numbers chapter 23, verse 19. God is not a man that he should sin, and God's not the son of man that he should repent. So there we go. We have some things right there that amazingly we're a lot closer maybe than we think. We don't want to leave our subject before we mention the word Islam. What is Islam? Now I know that some of you mean well when people ask you, what's Islam? And you go, peace, Islam is peace. Okay? You mean well, I know you do. But when I walked up here a while ago, what did I say to you? Do you remember? I said, Salam alaikum. Did I say that? So that means peace be upon you, right? So if Islam means peace, why didn't I say Islam upon you? Islam alaikum. That doesn't make sense, does it? No, Islam is much bigger than that, because it means the surrender, submission, obedience, sincerity, and peace with Almighty Allah. It describes our relationship with God. It talks about how we're supposed to be with him. And who's on top? Allah. And who's the servant? Us. Who's the abd? We are. Servants of Almighty God, doing what he wants us to do. The prayer that is mentioned in the New Testament, in two of the Gospels, where Jesus is telling his companions how to pray, I looked real close. It didn't say, pray to me, I'm God. He ordered them to pray to the same one he prayed to. He even told them, my God, your God, my Lord, and your Lord. And in that prayer, it clearly says, God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the best way I can describe Islam in plain English. Do what God wants you to do and stop doing all the things that Shaitan wants you to do. Make sense? Yeah. Let's wrap it up and go with what Allah said in the very end of the Quran. Very end. The last 2 surahs or chapters of the Quran. Where did evil come from? Did you want to know that? A lot of people will tell you evil came from the devil. They said it. I heard a lot of people tell me that. Comes from the devil. But if it came from the devil, that means the devil has power. Does the devil have any power? If he does, that means that Allah's got competition. If Allah has competition, then there's a power split out there somewhere, and that means shirk. And we don't believe in that. La sharika lah. Is that true? La sharika lah. How many of you made Hajj, by the way? Haji? You know what I'm talking about? What did you say when you got there? Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik Allah, sharika laka labbaik. Yes? We're saying, here I am, oh my Lord, here I am. And we're saying there's no partners with Allah. No shirk, right? So according to us, nobody created evil except Allah. Allah created evil. How many think that's a mistake? Is that a mistake? Is that what I just said? Did Allah create evil, yes or no? We're going to take a vote. Tell you what, before you go too far, I'll read it for you. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq min sharri ma khalaq. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of daybreak. From what? From the evil that He created. As a test for you and me. Who created it? Allah. Wow. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ وَمِن شَرِّ حَسَدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of daybreak from the evil that He has created, from the evil of the darkening night as it comes with darkness, and from the evil of malignant witchcraft, and from the evil of the envier, hasad, whenever he practices hasadin, the hasad, when he practices his envy. And by the way, that's a commandment in the Old Testament. For the believers in the Bible, it's like the last commandment, not to have envy. Same religion, sent by God to the people before. And then finally, the last surah of the Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the Ilah, the God of mankind, and from the evil of the whisperer, wiswas, who whispers evil into the hearts of mankind, who withdraws from whispering after he catches you with it, who whispers in the breasts of mankind, from the jinn and mankind. Shaitan is from where? From both jinn and men. So there are devils that we don't see and some devils that we do see every day. And some of them we even voted for. Salam alaikum.